Hello and welcome to Norton Cemetery in Sheffield. So this is a rare commentary, audio commentary that I'm doing for the video. There's a few things I was going to say about the place. So this is somewhere that's very close to my heart as growing up as a child, because used to visit here a few times. My dad, who's a radio amateur, he basically used to come up here because he used to get a better signal when he was trying to work people from around the world. So this is in the days before the internet. You know, in the way that we get to know people from around the world on social media, well, on the internet per se, back then you could only get to talk to people from around the world via being a radio amateur, or more locally by CB radio. So we used to come up here just to get a better signal. And this cemetery has been here for I don't know when it's been here a long time. I mean, looking at the dates of the graves, it was built sometime in probably the late 1800s, and it also over the course of time has started to become looking more derelict. You know, you see the gravestones here, they're kind of, a lot of them are leaning because of subsidence. That wasn't the case when I was a kid. This place was better maintained than what it is now. So anyway, I'm just going to pause what I was saying, because I'm just going to show you something. Some of my ancestors are buried here, and unfortunately you can't really see much of the grave. So there we go. So we got Juliana Golightly, and where is it? Henry Golightly. They are my great grandparents. Anne Isabel Adamson was the daughter of the above. So I don't even know how they came to be buried here. This entrance used to be open, but that's been locked for a very long time now. I don't know why. You can only get in by the middle. There's 3 entrances, and they all 3 of them used to be open, but that's long since been locked. That padlock's probably about 30 years old. So yes, I don't know how my great grandparents ended up being buried here. Presumably they lived somewhere in the area, but it was just coincidental. So, beautiful afternoon in January. Again, as I was saying, the cemeteries, it's quite tragic really, because the cemeteries aren't anywhere near as well maintained as what they used to be by the local council. A lot of things are not kept as well as they used to be by the local councils, it has to be said. This, I don't know what's going on here. Well, this is interesting. Something's being built. Possibly some garages. Yeah, so back in the day when I was a kid, I used to be able to stand at these railings, which I did while my dad was doing his radio amateur thing, and look over the valley. It's become a bit more overgrown now, so you can't see as much, but you used to be able to see into wood seats. And I remember one day when we were up here, and I was like a kid, maybe about 10 years old, and some old man came to join me, and at the railings, and must have been, well, looked about 80. And he said, I remember when all this was fields. And I'm like, oh, right, okay. So yeah, he can remember when Woodseats was fields. So yeah, so I'm not going to whinge about how the council have let things go to rack and ruin, but it does kind of frustrate me that, given the vast amount of council tax we pay, they can't even keep these things. Look, there's no need for that. It could be all cut back, all right? It's an insult to the dead, as far as I'm concerned, who probably paid taxes throughout their lives. So it is what it is. Anyways, there's some people coming, so I'll shut up. Some of my old neighbours were buried in, can't remember where the grave is. Anyway, I'll shut up. But yeah, I used to run around these graves when I was a kid. Yeah, so I used to think, have they been vandalised, some of these graves? But I don't think they have. I think they've just kind of like I said, are leaning because of, you know, subsidence. And some of them have become broken. But yeah, look at the weeds. Where's the council workers? You used to see them when I was a kid. I know I'm going on, but you know, it's just a sad indictment of the decay of society. You know, it looks like someone's looks like a cone is trying to dig its way back out again. I wonder how the cone died. Look at that. Just put it up right. Christ. Oh, this one's completely fallen down. I'm telling you, when I was a kid, they were all straight. $18.99, 1883, 1889. Yeah, you see what I mean? Late 1800s. Which kind of makes sense because there was a lot of building work going on in the Victorian era. I'm talking about houses. Because they had some money, they had the money to invest in it from the British Empire. And yes, we probably got that money through pilfering a lot of other countries which we colonised, but now we've given it all away again. So Beautiful day, and I've already said it once. Sorry, I'm not very interesting. Right, what I think I'm going to do is, when I get back to where we started, I think I'm going to look for that grave of the neighbours, because I've got a story about that, an anecdote, and I'll start filming again. One thing you notice from the graves, how many people died at a young age. I'm talking kids. Obviously there were a lot of untreatable illnesses back then, cholera, typhoid, and it's reflected in the graves, the trend being bigger families but more deaths in the family than what there probably is now, or what there easily is now in there. Okay, so I've done a complete circuit, so I'm going to find this grave and I'm going to be back in a sec. Here we go. These are our next door neighbours on Upper Albert Road. So Rose Emily Rogers died 4th of May 1981, and her husband died almost 6 months to the day on November 5th, 81. Basically, I remember when Rose died, they must have been married a long time, and they seemed really old, but as you can see, they weren't even 70 when they died. And they used to keep a lovely garden, and people did back then. I think there are more distractions these days. There's more of a, more distractions through consumerism and things like the internet, and people just don't put the effort in these days. And I think we've just become lazier over the course of time, because technology has made life easier for us, and it's turned us lazy. And but the garden was immaculate. The garden that's at the back of that house now, it isn't. It's just overgrown again, because people just don't invest the time in stuff like that anymore. And you used to see it all the time when I was a kid. Everyone's garden was like really lovely and people took pride in it. Anyway, so for them it was like a, they worked on this garden. It was like a full-time job, and they worked as a team. And she died, and I remember I was at junior school at the time, and a kid who I knew from my class, he used to call round. He must have lived at Healy Green or something, and he used to call round to see me on the way up to school, and he'd call round and then we'd walk up to school together at lunchtime. So he called for me one lunchtime, and the hearse is in the drive of the house, and for her funeral. And Norman comes out, and my mate Neil, bear in mind we're about 9 years old at the time, and then people are coming back. He shouts up at wall, "Who's dead?" So I'm like, "Shut up, will you? God, Oh, can't believe you just said that. Anyway, so Norman just stared at him for a few seconds, like in disgust, didn't say anything, and then just went back inside his house. But I thought, even as a 9-year-old, I thought, how stupid was that? But yeah, Norman, like you can see from the dates, he chugged on for about 6 months after that. And then he said to one of the neighbours, I just feel lost without her. And you can understand it. Quite very sad. So in the end, I think he just gave up the ghost and joined her. So that concludes the tour of Norton Cemetery. And yeah, maybe I'll do another audio commentary on another video at some point. That's assuming I've not all sent you all to sleep by now. Alright.